Welcome back. Previous class, I introduced Sketchup, and I was really impressed with what many of you created. Many of you took the time, you really focused, you learned a lot of the tools, and there's a lot of tools we can do with this. Sketchup in itself is a powerful tool, and it could almost be a full semester course with everything you can do with SketchUp. There's many different ways you can use the tools, but the key is learning the tools. And that's what I want us to take a few minutes to do is focus on what are the tools in SketchUp and what can we do with that. Now, if you've not gone in and watched the previous episode on this, you really need to because it talks about how to set up your account, logging in, and things like that. And understand, SketchUp, while it's not AutoCAD itself, it is a rendition or a different product, but it does much like AutoCAD does. And it's massive. It takes a long time for it to load up. So when you when you go to open it up, look up here. Make sure it shows a character. You can always click on it, make sure you're in your account. If you're not, you need to make sure you sign in. But even then, when you click on Start Modeling, it goes through this for a long time. Now, it may vary depending upon the internet you have at home or at school. I've gone ahead and I've gone to this point, which is the next stage when you get there, after it runs through that load up. Here in SketchUp now, we could easily go in and create new or open something that we've already created. We could go over here and look at our account and make some changes there. We could go through some of their warehouse, add locations, or just go to our home. What I would like us to take, though, is a moment to look at the tour. And again, this is a great way to learn the tools that are found within SketchUp. And you really need to understand these tools because many of you got frustrated and you just started scribbling because you couldn't understand. Well, again, you didn't know what tool you were looking for. You wanted to do something, but you didn't know which tool to look for. So start the tour. You really need to look at what this is. And you can see this is where you can go in and save. Let me warn you, people, save your work a lot. Save your work frequently. If someone goes over there while you're in the middle of doing this and unplugs your computer, your data's gone. You didn't save it. So you need to make sure you save it. The other thing, though, that is very helpful is the undo, which is you can click here or Control Z. That's, oh man, so many times I'm like, oh man, I didn't want that. Well, Control Z and I'm back and I can start over again. Sometimes, though, ooh, I thought I didn't want that, but I actually did. And that's where you redo or put it back on there. So play with those two options and it'll really help. Model name, make sure you name your work. So many times I see people just take untitled. Well, but you need to go back because I promise you, as we build things now, 2 weeks from now, you're going to want that part to be able to put in something else. And instead of having to recreate it all, it's like, well, what was that file name? Well, I don't remember. You come up with the file names or ask me and I'll help you decide what the file name should be. But for now, you really do need to name it. And then your preferences. This is where you find your menus. So make sure you take the time, look through those. You'd be amazed at what is in there. Also, we've got a toolbar here to the side and we've got a toolbar on this side. We need to make sure we know which tools are where and pay attention to that. Now, that's what we're talking about here. This little arrow here is the select. And you can see an arrow. If I push down on my mouse cursor and drag across, it gives me a faint box that highlights or selects something. This is great when I'm wanting to adjust the size, maybe change it up, add color to it, delete that whole thing. There's a way you can do that. Often when I scribble out here, If I use the erase, I have to hit every little line, and that takes forever. With the select, I can highlight it all and then either hit the delete button or then use the eraser and take care of that. So many of you have gone in and you've changed the character. Please remember the character is a great way for you to keep track of your size dimensions. Some of you may feel like this person is in the way, but please understand it has a reason there, and you really do want that. Paint bucket, that's how you can fill in an area, but understand the lines have to be connected for it to fill in the area. If there's a small little gap there at the end, it's not going to fill in the area because it would have to paint the whole canvas, and you don't want that. Draw lines. There's two options there. With the draw lines, you can draw a straight line and then release, and then connect another straight line or draw a third straight line separate. It's great for drawing those shapes. But there's also the squiggles where you can just draw scribble. You can draw an oval or a spiral, whatever you want. You just have to be careful because it can be very easy to get distracted with that. Now, the arcs is how you can sit there and put a dome on top of something or create a bow that you want them to be able to use if they were lost in a forest. You have that curvature. In many of our shapes, especially in cars, they have curvatures. They look sleek and slimline because of that. And so you want to be able to know that. Draw shapes. This is where you can draw squares, rectangles, but also you can draw circles, ovals. This is a powerful tool and you really need to learn this. Modify objects. Now, this is powerful here. You really need to learn that, and we'll go deeper into that and talk more about those. The rest of these we'll save for another lecture, but we'll come back to it. Now, over here, we have some more things here that we can do. 3D warehouse, that's really interesting. But again, I want you to create the objects, not just go out there and drag it in there and say, I'm done. You defeat the whole purpose of learning the program when you do that. But you can look through there, same with materials, tags, scenes. There's a lot of things that you can do, and I think you'll enjoy what we do with it in the future. And then your status bar down here. It's hard to see the status bar. There we go. That's better. Sometimes if it seems like you're doing this in Greek or French, you might need to go in and change your language bar. But always, first check your keyboard, people. Many of you are like, hey, my keyboard's not working. Well, for some unknown reason, the keyboard on the Chromebooks just randomly change. Go back and change it back. And then measurements. Now, this again will be a whole nother lecture, but you need to learn to pay attention to measurements because you can't just create a table. You have to have a measurement. You have to say, yes, I want this table to be 4 foot long, or I want this table to be 24 foot long. Well, there's a difference, a big difference. You need to be able to use your measurements to judge that and make sure you're within those parameters. All right, enough on that. We're going, like I said, we'll play with that some more. One of my assignments I had or mentioned yesterday was drawing a box. Your assignment today is to draw a three-dimensional box. The key, though, is you have to really pay attention to the color of the line. Notice how it is red. I'm now matching this red axis. Again, if I do it this way and it is green, it's hard to see, I know, through the computer, but now I'm matching the green axis. Again, I'm red. Now I could go all the way out here. I want to try to match it up with this. Notice right there I have a little dot. That says, hey, I'm in line with this dot, which again is green. Okay, I have drawn a square. I can go down here to my orbital tool and change my viewpoint, remember? This is important that you be able to do that, people. Now from here, I go back up and I want to draw lines that are blue. My lines that are blue will be my vertical. They're going up and down. And again, look at those from points. Now again, I can use my red lines and my green lines. Okay, pretty simple. Just drew a box. All right, now from here, I can go in and start cutting shapes into that box. I can cut a door. All right, now here's what I want. I'm going to go back, Control Z. You can see I'm taking away that. This is what I want you to give me a screenshot of. I want a screenshot of this shape right here, where I can see that of all the sides, 2 sides are missing, and I could actually walk into that box. I'm not going to say a size. I don't want the shape of the size of the box bigger than the person, but I don't want it so small that I can't see it. So let's make it where it's about this size, give or take a little bit, and you need to do a screenshot. You can do Control Shift and then the key above the 6,